That, yeah.
Went from nothing?
Well, we was taking it out of, road maintenance materials. That way it's got its own account.
So road maintenance has went down 80,000 then?
Yeah, well,
But, so just one
but
thing I wanted to,
that could be where we could do some more too. Next year.
so the revenue for, MBH this year is 3.642. So, let's see, more than generally speaking, just in like all the departments, like that have their own funding, like, so yours would be an example, you know, whoever has their own revenue stream. So we really need this budget to reflect that revenue figure, minus or additional to that would be like a one-time expenditure that's not ongoing. You see what I'm saying? So like, for example, the 75 money was on top of what that, because we're pulling that out of our cash reserves. Anything above 3.6 million, 3.642 million is pulling out of cash, existing cash. So we like to we primarily want to make sure that our annual revenue stream pays for the general operations of any department. But then if there are reasons to spend, you know, out of cash reserves, then we look at that separately.
Is 3.62 million the revenue?
Jackie just verified.
That is?
Yeah. I have these sheets for you that haven't been passed out. But this is one that for a couple years wasn't spent, and so their cash reserve is,
Significant.
yeah,
That was always the issue with previous
right.
highway engineers, is that they were sitting on reserves that were rather
that-
large.
That's what that was the genesis of that 75 project, was a major project, but obviously that's been challenging with the transition.
But too, like Josh says, you don't want to spend it all out at one time, because then there's a mindset that much of money is available on an annual basis, and then you're in.
Yeah,
the
and that's why
wash.
we like to maintain the discipline of budgeting what we receive, and then, like, any discussion is always on the table for what we're gonna spend cash reserves on, but they really need to be two separate conversations. So this budget is for what I would consider ongoing well, you have to budget everything, don't get me wrong. If you're gonna spend, you gotta budget it, but if there is something that is not just a normal, ordinary operating expense, it needs to be highlighted so that we know, you know, this is a cash reserve type of purchase, not a normal operating budget.
Yeah. There's a caveat to this fund also. The highway fund has two sub-funds. And when the revenue comes in, 50% goes into a restricted spending and 50% goes into non-restricted. So at the first of the year, you don't know this yet, but in January, I'm gonna come and sit down with Beth and the new superintendent and work on getting that appropriated the way it should be. We'll take what you guys appropriate here at budget time and split it between those two funds, so that moving forward, we are actually budgeting. You'll see the budget of each of those funds, because that 50% restricted can never go back into the non-restricted operations, but the non-restricted can come forward to help pay. And so anytime you can spend restricted money, you want to spend your restricted money on those required items first to save your salaries for operations and snow removal that are non-restricted. That's the fund that struggles the most. And with that, those sub-funds, throughout the year, one or the other can go red, as long as the sum of the two are in the black. So, but we're gonna set down at the first of the year. We now have history of what has actually been spent over the last couple of years, restricted and non-restricted. Put them in the places where they need to be, so that moving forward, that's the way the budget will be presented to you. It'll also help you know if the money's being spent for daily operations or truly for the maintenance, preservation, or reconstruction of roads.
That would be very nice. So I have one other question. On contractual services, you're going from it's a $30,000 bump. What contract is going up 30,000?
Construction services.
80. 3,080.
That, where, because we rent, some equipment, and we're seeing renting a little more next year. So, because we get it like a sidewinder, we put edges on roads, the gravel, and we usually spend about $20,000 on that. And, we got a few other, I think, what projects are. Because we was gonna rent, because I had it down in my notes and like.
Okay.
Look at your other thing.
So these aren't actual contracts that you have, it's just equipment that you're renting to do
Right.
those special projects.
Right. So we spent at least 20,000 on that.
Okay?
And so,
Because your previous budget was for 20,000. So what piece of equipment or what additionally do you plan on doing in 2024?
that's what I'm trying to look at here.
Back to maybe capital. I don't know that, but
You mean just that? And this is just stuff that we're renting and not buying? Wow. We do that every year, why are we not buying the equipment?
It might be
We
$500,000.
I was gonna say, we maybe
Really?
used $1 billion machine for
Yeah.
a day and a half.
That's like
Wow.
grader we just bought for 100,000, or just over 100. A brand new one's almost 500,000 to 600,000. Yeah. Well, I know he's gonna have to, at the time, he's gonna rent.
I'm sure you're gonna
I guess renting's okay.
do it wisely.
For sure. Yeah.
Because we had a roller that was going down on us, and we were fortunately gonna have to rent one to use, my mind's going blank here. But it's just for stuff like that, we might need to, since we rent the Sidewinder every year, and that's $20,000. So I thought we might need some more in case we have to.
These
rent
are
some more.
specialty type machines
Yeah.
that
Used for
you
short
cost
period
When you,
of time.
when you remember what the
It's
other
hard to keep
$30,000
on
was
hand.
for, or whenever you get to a place, could you let us know what the other $30,000 for?
Mhm.
I don't see anything else, do you guys?
Nope.
fuel, I know last year we bumped fuel up to $500,000. Right now, we're sitting about $170,000 that we've spent. And I know, it isn't look at where we might be, but I mean, if we could cut a little bit on that fuel, do you feel comfortable with that? Potentially.
Yeah, my only thing is we did have a bad winter last year, and if we do, we're gonna be spending more.
Well, yeah, and I don't care what, I mean, so this is my only request, like, we need to get this 3.9 number
Yeah.
to 3.6,
Yeah.
call it 3,650, just for a round number. So I don't wanna tell you what we're gonna cut, I would rather you say, here's, I mean, we're talking about $300-ish thousand. So just on a $3.6 million budget, so it shouldn't be too challenging. Just find the lines that you want to reduce to get to that for normal operating. And we'll go from there.
Do you guys take questions from the audience? I have a quick question about the fuel stuff. Why do everybody buy their fuel separate? Wouldn't the county have better buying power if we bought bulk fuel and?
Logistically, I don't know how that works though. I mean, I don't know.
We used to do that, didn't we, Bill?
Well, we
Years gone by.
do for the sheriff's department and for the highway, and I've actually looked into that, with Kings, and of course, there's a marathon dealer, and there are different ways we could look at doing it. I've not followed it up at all, but by having Kings businesses in Delphi, Flora, and Burlington, that makes sense where everybody can get, they can still bulk deliver to the sheriff's department or the highway, and then everybody else who has stock in the county can use a card that would track a particular vehicle to, and there's a lot of things that this council can do in tracking usage, and with that volume of fuel that the county would use, we'd get a substantial discount. So that's definitely something that very well should be looked into.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
It
you're
struck me
fine.
almost all year that I didn't understand why we didn't use the buying power of the
That's
county.
been a bug on my back too.
I have never really looked into how much fuel the sheriff's department uses. We take bids every year for the highway department. I don't know if their volume would be enough added on to this to get us a lower rate. I think we're pretty well down on the rate right now that we can get. But there's no reason why, if you want to be included in that bidding, that we can't do it.
And, well,
The county
we're
as a
not
whole.
even counting, we're not even taking into account EMS.
Oh, yeah.
And every other vehicle
EMS.
in the
Almost every
county.
department has
County
vehicles
department.
now.
Yeah. I mean, we spend, I think I went through last year's budget and added up, we spend in excess of $1 million just in fuel for the county, for all departments, or pretty close to it.
10%'s a big number. 10%'s a big number.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that I would like to look into further. Because, everybody talks about, well, you gotta have a depot, and it's too expensive to build a depot in the county for everybody to use. Well, if you have one company with company cars,
Distribution.
yeah, you got,
Across the county.
exactly.
All right, are we good to move on to?
I'm good.
Page 39.
Local road and street?
And this is another one where we're budgeting, we have a significant cash balance, but we're budgeting $800,000 on $355,000 of revenue.
What's the revenue on this one?
355.
Okay.
And the reason that, we're not picking on you in any way. The reason that this is important is that we need to know that we can do the work of the county on the money that we receive. And if we start looking, like, some years you're gonna have more, some years you're gonna have less, but we wanna know that, like, as a matter of budgeting, that we know how much we can do. And if there's a, you know, some kind of surplus, then we can say, well, you know, we've exhibited that there's a surplus 3 years in a row. You know, we can expand our road plan to cover, you know, X percentage more miles or something to that effect. But if we don't budget to some standard, and the standard we consider to be prudent is what we actually receive, and balance that budget, then it becomes almost impossible to say, this is what it costs to do this amount of road.
Yeah, when I did these, I just tried to do it.
No, I get
thought
it.
It was supposed to be done, and
Yeah. No, I understand. So, like I said, we're not picking on you. I'm just trying to help you understand why we do things the way we do.
We consider that a deficit budget.
It's
Yeah.
probably outlet.
I mean, no big deal,
Just been
but
doing like that all day.
it is.
And some of this stuff is crazy, because like, if you got a good deal on stone, and you said, hey, I need to go buy $1 million and stockpile it at X, Y, Z, and it, you know, was gonna save us money, do it. Like, I mean, like, that's perfect use of the funds, but that's not a normal year, right? I mean, that might be 2 years of stone or 3 years of stone that you bought just because it was a great deal.
And there's some of the stuff I didn't know how much we would use,
Yeah.
so I didn't know really how much to ask for.
Well, this is,
That's what we're here for. It's- I know
Actually,
this
you're,
is
you're a
happened
long
every
time
year.
listener,
I mean,
first time caller.
Paul used to do that too.
I know.
Yes.
No.
I was just trying to make him feel bad.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
Is there something particular that you're looking out of this other road equipment for 250,000? From 3 to 550, so the difference is 250.
But yeah, that is, I was gonna get 2 new dump trucks. One was, you said 550, right?
Yeah.
That's the one you're talking about?
Yep. 4,000.43.
Yeah, I was gonna try to get a single axle on tandem.
One single.
Yeah. One tandem and at least, and a bucket truck. We had a bucket truck it's cost us quite a bit of money. And we think it would be cost effective to replace it.
Okay. All right, we can jump to Cume Bridge.
He had a reversion as well. Is this the ones that we were talking about, that where you had bought them, we had done a, what you call it, the encumbrance, and then that died because they canceled the order? So is this the replacement of those trucks?
Pretty much. Because we don't have, right now, if we was fully staffed, we don't have enough trucks for everybody. So we need to get some so we can build our fleet back up, so we have trucks for everybody.
Yeah.
And at where we sit right now, I think we're still like 5 or 6 people down. And there's 2 of them, or 1 of them that doesn't have a truck, so we're trying to, and used trucks are not, there hasn't been, last couple of years, they haven't been really making that size of newer trucks, so they're not getting trade-ins, so they're not having used, so they're hard to get to.
Well, as the new market's dried up, the used market will dry up as well.
So are they making new trucks?
They said we could get a couple of them next year.
Oh, really?
So the only, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna jump to Cume Bridge because we're getting behind schedule here. The only real big change I see in Cume Bridge is machine and equipment, and that line's at 150,000. There was no appropriation for this year in that line, so
Yeah. What was your question specifically? You're talking Cume Bridge, right?
yep.
So what was your, I'm sorry, what was your?
I was just gonna ask what the $150,000.
4,040 is 150,000 went from zero. Do you have equipment coming
Is
for
there-
that?
is there
We were
something-
going to, replace a roller.
That's right.
Um,
Okay. We talked about that.
Yeah,
didn't we?
it,
All right.
it's gonna cost more to fix it like it should be than
So,
it's worth.
So I just think it's important that we, this fund brings in $635,000 a year. So it's $1 million over the way that it's budgeted right now. The cash balance last time I looked was only like a couple $1 million, so like, that's obviously problematic. So, the question I have is, there was supposed to be 2 bridges done this year. And that's what that 870,000 was. Are you doing that amount again?
I've talked to VS Engineering, which had
Contract.
designed it, and we're ready to move forward. We've got to talk to commissioners and stuff about it. They're wanting to meet with them, and so hopefully here for long we'll have a meeting with them and try to get those done.
So they weren't done this year?
Not
Well,
not so
no,
far.
because they've only used $6,400.
Well, you just never know. I mean, like, the way those things bill, they could be,
Yeah.
they could be materially done but not billed.
Oh,
That's why I wanted.
that much money, I think I'd bill pretty quick.
So-
Well, they didn't have the progress from, I'm not speaking ill, but from the highway, they didn't know about them.
Right.
They weren't in the know.
So, something else, I had a conversation recently with NDOT, and at one of the meeting that you go to, the Transportation Safety Committee or whatever it's called, they are begging counties to submit bridge projects for federal aid. And it is, you will get it. So, I mean, please, if we have bridges, I mean, we have engineers running out our fanny here, just hire one of them to go put the NDOT, or put in the federal aid project, because this is not sustainable. I mean, we'll be out of bridge money in 2 years at this spending rate, and then we're really hung. So, I mean, please hire all the engineers you can hire to go do bridges for us. I mean, we're like talking like $1 million or $2 million a year we can bring in to do bridge work. So,
So who goes after that money? Who writes that up and who goes after it?
Your engineering firm will. They'll write that up for you.
They do everything. Like,
Well, we don't have an engineering firm.
Well, there's several
yeah,
out
he
there.
does. I mean,
We have-
he has somebody he uses.
We have ones that
You
we
do?
can use to, yeah.
Yeah,
VS.
they wrote.
There's
wouldn't they just write
there's
for you guys?
USI, there's DLZ, there's
VS.
Remember
Why
that?
VS
Engineering, there's
Lock
Butler
Mueller.
Thurman and Site,
Lock
Yeah.
Mueller.
For the
What was
bridge
that?
plan.
Lockmuller.
But anyway, so
Yeah.
Did you talk to
engineer
them
comes
So
about
in.
you
the
have to
bridge
go to
plan?
them.
Yeah,
and
they
ask-
So they've
have,
already
Yes.
done that
You
part.
say, here's
So
a project,
couldn't
we
you
need
just
it
ask them
funded.
to move forward?
It's him,
Yeah.
it's him going to them and saying, you need
Because
to
should
find a
it
way to fund
get
this
to the
bridge.
end of the
should be
year?
able to find those bridges from the bridge inspection.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
this should be last resort, like, not maybe last resort.
I'm just saying, you know nothing about this, right? So how is he supposed to know about
Well,
this?
I can tell you some people to
VS.
contact in IACS that can help you and work right with you. And Stuart Klein over in Tippecanoe County
Yeah.
is a past board member and would be most willing to help you get what you need to get, or in contact with who you need to get in contact with.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
He's a fantastic.
Because most of the year I've been
Secretary,
trying to figure out
too.
I know.
months and stuff, and I got behind doing this because I was trying to do that, and I mean, there's a lot
Were
more
you
to
6
it
months
than
on the
what-
job now?
Huh?
6 months on the job?
Yeah, right
Sorry.
around there.
And look, he's pulled out all of his
Well,
hair.
and honestly,
This
I
is,
recommend.
this sounds like a big priority. This is
Yeah.
millions
Yeah,
of
and
dollars, so I
you
think
know,
that better
Brian,
move up.
Do you come to RDC? You've been there before, haven't you, the redevelopment commission?
I think I was there once. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, we have an engineer, he does all that kind of stuff, like, I mean, they're,
Yeah, they all do.
you can't, you go to road school, you can't, like, you can't take two steps without
that's right.
bumping into an engineer who's trying to sell you something.
SJCA is one that works with a lot of smaller counties.
Yeah,
And does
there's a
the,
million of them, and they can all do it, so, like,
Yeah.
just, but the biggest thing is you just gotta say, here's a project, we need funding for it.
Yeah, let's revisit this.
Yes.
Because I think we should.
Yeah.
But I think we're good, Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to, as far as the 10% for the guys, I think they, there's some that's a couple, $2 or $3 more than we are, and they're going through, they're paying $5,000 for a class, and they're going places making $30, and they're not coming here.
Yeah.
We got like a handful of applications on one at CDLs. Yep.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Sheriff.
Are we behind? We are way behind.
Way behind.
Good.
You're not supposed to say that when I come up here. I feel like you're already trying to get rid of it.
I'm gonna remind you of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, as was said earlier, I'm a first-time caller, so I don't know how this goes at all. So
And you didn't even ask for help.
Welcome to the party.
I think I'm good, but I don't know how this goes, so I got this.
It's brutal. It's brutal, Tony.
I mean,
Do what?
do you have any?
Oh, no, I brought my backup.
And he's carrying a gun too, so I think we.
And I got a body camera, thanks to you guys.
You are being recorded. Twice.
So do you have the sheet?
I have the sheet.
All right, let's go, one by
Is
one.
that what we're doing?
What significant change?
Well, there's some revisions.
So we're just.
Did somebody just grumble?
yes.
Because they're not called revisions.
Well, that's what I have to call them. That's what I mean. Okay, where are we starting? You tell me.
Deputies. How much raise percentage?
I've revamped it. I asked for 10. However, don't shake your head yet. I've got solutions too. Hear me out.
Beth just says we can't change them. After you hand them in, you can't change them.
Oh, I know, but she told me that I should come here, and this is where I do that.
Okay, go ahead.
I said you can say it, that doesn't mean it's going to get there.
Okay, so things changed. I was impressed with the dispatch decisions, EMS decisions. I feel like now it's time for the sheriff's department to take a stab at this. But mine is more from a loyalty to the county standpoint. And I want to throw a few numbers at you. Tobe Lesenby's worked in Carroll County for 35 years, and he makes $59,700 right now. Delphi just hired a guy last Friday. In 2024, he's going to make $57,147. So our top guy with 35 years, 8 years as sheriff, is going to make $2,000 max, more than a brand new guy from Delphi. It's the same in Flora. Flora is $1,000 behind Delphi. And we're stuck back here at the bottom, and people are gonna go. I'm just telling you realities, because we had the crisis at the jail. I didn't come to you guys, I fixed it. I was in the jailing. The jail commander, this young lady's got 25 years in that jail. It's 40 years old, so it's only been around 15 years since she's worked at it. She's the heartbeat of the jail. It's not the name on the outside of the building. I need her here in case you guys have questions, because it doesn't run without her. She makes $46,000. You can go any other county you want, and the lowest paid person makes more than that. That's Lori Sestarsik. She's the jail commander for me. She's a commander. She has been at the jail for 25 years, in the jail for 25 years. She's been jail commander for 16, not counting this year. Is that about right? So she is the heartbeat of the jail. And then it just goes from there. That's our top person.
I'm just waiting for it.
I'm waiting. I'll
Waiting
take
for
this
what?
up. You can chit chat about this all you want, and I so agree with you, but do you know if she leaves, the next person coming in with
You know-
maybe
you
no
know who-
experience
you
is
know-
gonna get the same amount?
You know who the next
That's
person
insane.
to even remotely step up at our jail, who that could be, has 3 years on?
Okay.
They couldn't do it.
But they're gonna get the same amount, that's what's sad.
They don't have to.
I was gonna say, that's the whole point. They don't have to, that's why we're having this conversation. And again,
They don't
remember,
have to, but they're not.
remember I have solutions, because you might as well stop the new jail, because we're not gonna be able to fill it at this pay rate. I can't keep people now. The sheriff is jailing. It was that dire. Right now, we have just enough, we have no part-time. If somebody calls in sick, I'm jailing or we're pulling somebody off the road. A road that we, on a good day, have 2 people working. And I could go into,
So, wait a minute, we're talking jail, I mean,
We're kind of jumping between.
oh, I'm
buckets
sorry,
here, yeah.
well, we kinda
Yeah,
got
yeah, no, I get
So
it.
Sidetrack,
deputies,
so we're on
you're
deputies.
asking for what, how many percent?
10,000 across the board,
10,000 raise,
yes.
okay?
And that's not reflected in this number though, right?
That number is 10%,
Okay.
I mean,
So
we don't
this
have-
number is 10%.
correct.
You're wanting to amend that to just be a flat 10
Right.
grand per.
Right.
So I will ask one question for, you say, how do you plan to fund that?
So I've got enough, so that's for the entire jailers and deputies, everybody in there to get 10,000. It's 210,000.
He's got cars.
It's 210,000.
Okay?
I've got cuts for 219. There are other things going up. I don't want to make that sound like I've solved the world. I haven't. But I've got enough cuts to get rid of, well, not cuts. Add into that a DOC check that we don't get to see. We just turned in a check for housing inmates for $76,551. So included in that 219 is what the county gets paid for us housing DOC. But I have enough cuts in that check that we get every year, maybe not 76 every year, but 219,000 right on the top.
So,
I don't
do you
understand
have
because I
that?
don't see it in paper, I don't even know what you're talking
That
about.
that number for deputies will be 770, 766.
What is, you're changing the number from 715, 847 to what?
770, 766.
And you have $219,000 of cuts throughout the rest of this budget.
That'll have to change, yeah, those are the revisions.
So really, there's no use looking at this because you're
Where
changing.
you're gonna
it.
have to look at it if you wanna know the numbers, so you can write them down. There's changes, that's the best I can tell you. I've tried to come up with a solution,
Yep.
and that's the best I can tell you.
My question, Tony, was, is it, I'm sorry, is it, this is not your solution? Like, as it's presented, you have
No,
another.
there are changes, correct.
Okay. So are you just gonna tell us those, or do you have it in like a document?